Hello everyone, my name is Timo Huomo and welcome to my thesis presentation.
The title of my thesis is The Assessment of the Key Value Propositions and the Business Case of the First Trunk Bus Lines Connecting Espoo and Vantaa. And this is a case study which I've done together with HSL. This is also funded by HSL. And my supervisor from Alta is Milos Klajnovic, and my advisor from HSL is Marek Link. And here is the content of the presentation. So first, research questions and research aims and questions, key literature, then research methods and data sources, and finally, summary and my own learnings. And here you can see that the HL has launched these two trunk bus lines 520 and 530 in August 23. Here you can see them on the map as well in relation to metro and train lines. And HL wanted to find out to what extent have these trunk lines fulfilled the value propositions to customers, and also they also had this kind of business objectives that they wanted that I would take a look at. And thirdly, to also, this is not a research question, maybe more as a suggestion to what could be done to foster the success of these lines. So I have two research questions here. First, to what extent have these trunk bus lines fulfilled the key value propositions to customers? And secondly, have these lines reached the business objectives set for them, comprising of ridership, fare revenue, and cost effectiveness? And think about research question 1. HL has defined in 2021 in a document development of trunk bus routes, service description, and infrastructure measures, these three key value propositions for HL's trunk lines. And so they are that using HL trunk lines should be effortless and reliable, comfortable and safe, and thirdly, easy and simple. And also key literature I've used. So in terms of transportation, I've been looking at articles or reading articles using them, which have to do with travel experience, and also articles that have to do with ridership, that have a more of a ridership focus. Also, I've been using design, intervention, and studies. And for example, a value proposition canvas tool I have used to summarize the survey results. I will tell you more about that later on. Also, I have used HL's plans, multiple plans regarding these trunk lines, but also trunk lines in more general in HL. And also in terms of methodology literature, I've been using this abductive reasoning approach. And this is kind of at case studies commonly use this kind of research approach, and it it aims for a best available and most likely kind of explanation, not maybe the kind of absolute fact or a kind of testing hypothesis, but rather seeking for this kind of like most likely explanation to something. And for research question 1, I've been using this email survey data. This is a survey that was conducted by HSL in October, November 23, and 520 and 530 lines were included in this survey, and this survey was also edited to include this question on these value propositions. And in total, there was some 1,738 individual respondents there that evaluated either line 520 or 530, and almost 80% of the respondents here are frequent HL's user. So that is also a limitation to keep in mind. They are HL's current customers. And for the second research question, I have used ridership, fare revenue, and cost effectiveness data. And here, these are the data I've been using, and also I've been analyzing the cost effect of these lines and comparing that to HSL's trunk lines in average. And throughout the project, it turned out that HSL hasn't defined any kind of explicit objectives for these lines in terms of ridership fare revenue or cost effectiveness. So they kind of have to be elaborated. But I will explain that later on in the results. For other methods, I also conducted nine expert or planner interviews, five in HSL, five experts, and two from Espoo and two from Vantaa. I also conducted 2 field visits in autumn 23, and also I held a presentation session in March for the project participants for feedback, and I also from there I got good comments to kind of fix maybe something and do like minor revisions. So it was a good idea to do that. Then to the results. So these are the value propositions survey results, and here we're looking at average scores on a scale from 1 to 5. On top is the 520 and bottom 530. And here we can see that both of these lines have fulfilled this easy and simple value proposition quite well, meaning like over 4 on a scale 1 to 5. And also the safety, both of these lines have performed quite well in that, over 4.1. But as the one value proposition was made of comfort and safety of traveling, so here it's kind of interesting to see that the comfort, so the respondents have valued the comfort or lower than safety. So it's maybe contradictory to say that these lines have fulfilled this value proposition. Maybe I would say they have fulfilled this safety part of that. But the comfort, there is still room for improvement. And the effortless and reliable, I would say in both lines that is not yet fulfilled because the average score is rather low compared to those other, for example, compared to easy and simple. And this is mainly due to lacking punctuality, and the problem is worse in 520 line, or was at that time at least, when the survey was conducted. And also, this is a value proposition canvas, and this was used to summarize the survey results, meaning the quantitative and qualitative results. And on a qualitative side, there were also these comments on why you are not satisfied on this line, for example, 520 or 530. And here I've been using these open-ended questions as well. But if I explain quickly, so on the left side there's a kind of what HL offers with these lines, and on the right hand side is the kind of customer profile here. And here I've been focusing on these users that use HL service several times a day or several times a week, kind of these heavy users, because the survey represents them well. And here we can see that what the customers kind of get by using these lines. So, and for example, the short waiting times between vehicle, the perceived safety of traveling, and feeling that their lines are simple and easy to use. So those are kind of the gains they get on a kind of what kind of pains they experience while using. It seems to be the lack of punctuality. Comparing these lines to the previous lines, say for some, kind of previous network seemed to work better, and also kind of the comfort of traveling could be improved. But also to increase walking distance to the stop is something here. But here kind of the idea is that I have linked the kind of gain creators to the gains, pain relievers to the pains, and products and services to the customer jobs. So this is kind of how this value proposition canvas works. And in terms of ridership, on the left-hand side, you can see ridership graph from January 520 line, and on the right 530 line for the same time period. And actually, on many months that I looked here, so the kind of ridership profile is almost similar kind of in these lines in each month. But in a typical month, see the 520 line has attracted around 240,000 boardings, and 530 line around 160,000 boardings. And here you can see that the producer profiles are different. In 520, there is this Leppävaara-Naasema, kind of a important mid-route transfer point that can be seen, and a right hand, and on 530 line is maybe more the Matinkylä that has attracted a lot of boardings. But the Espoon asema, which is also a transfer point to the railway line, so that is not attracted as much as Leppävaara. And these graphs are made by Jani Koskinen, a data analyst from HSL, and as well as these. And here we look at the fare revenue in the target area, and on the left hand side is we can see that consistently in 23 the fare revenue has been higher in this target area than in 22, but it's difficult to see that what is the effect these lines have had in this fare revenue in the target area. I would say that it's not possible to kind of connect to kind of say that these lines have increased the fares in the target area from the week 34 onwards. If you look at this graph, it's kind of looking similar. Maybe we have to wait for more time. And it's also good to remember that maybe the recovery of public transportation from COVID-19 is still ongoing, and that could be seen in this graph as well. And on the right-hand side, we are looking at HSL app ticket sales, and more specifically, we are looking at the relative change in HSL app ticket sales in the target area, and we're comparing September-November 22 to September-November 23. And here, kind of how this should be interpreted is that these red areas are those ones in which the change in the ticket sale in the HSL app has been kind of smaller than on average in HSL area. So, for example, if you take Lähderanta, Jupperi, those areas, Espoon Keskus, so those are located on the route of the 530 line. And we can there see that maybe there is something to improve on there. And interestingly, also Myyrmäki and Martinlaakso, which are the endpoints there in Vantaa's side, so they don't look that good in here, and also some improvement could be done as well in there. And in green areas, if you look at those, so here in the south, also the metro line has effect on there. But if you think about 520 line, so for example, Olari, Etelä-Leppävaara, Pohjois-Leppävaara, so those areas here look of a green color, which could be also promising for 520, for the case of 520. And if you think about the cost effectiveness, so for this cost effectiveness, HL has actually defined this target level more generally for trunk lines, and in this year it is €1.48 of operation costs per boarding. But HSL hasn't defined this kind of target specifically for these two trunk lines. But yeah, here we can see, and if you think about the figure, so the solid line is 520 and the dashed line is 530, and the gray line is the HSL trunk lines in average. And here the conclusion is that trunk line 520 is actually quite close to reaching the average level of cost effectiveness of HSL trunk lines, or maybe has already reached that in the kind of first 3 months of this year. But 530 is lagging behind this level, and actually both these lines are still behind of what HSL has targeted for trunk lines in terms of operation costs. And so there is still room for improvement, but the 520 especially is looking promising in this sense. and it might be able to kind of get to that target level during this year. It's completely possible, I would say. So how to summarize all this? I would say that the value proposition easy and simple has been fulfilled, and the comfortable and safe has been fulfilled for the safe part. For the comfortable part, there's still work to do, I would say, to fulfill that. And the effortless and reliable value proposition, that is not yet fulfilled because of the lacking punctuality of these lines, especially 520. In terms of ridership and cost effectiveness, this line 520 has been performing better consistently than 530. And 520 has attracted also more passengers than was actually estimated back in 2019. And it is another way around for 530 line. And what I would recommend is to still focus on improving the punctuality of both these lines, and more generally to focus on actions that improve the consistency of the user experience on these lines. And one way of doing this could be that this um, document where these trunk line value propositions were defined. So I think it's a kind of a high quality guideline, I would definitely say. And so that could be used more inside HSL to kind of, for example, in the work of those planners who work with trunk lines, but also other experts working with trunk lines. Because that is one of the recommendations I have. And my key, like my own learnings in this project, so I would say that careful planning in the beginning of this kind of a large project, this is way to go. Definitely, it helped me a lot. And in in public transportation, there are also kind of always many factors in place. So, for example, if you get data from many sources, so it's kind of easy to get distracted. Like, okay, I get this data and what I can do with this and so on. And people might have opinions on what you should do. But if you have planned well, it can kind of helps you retain the focus, and also it helps you to also change your direction if you kind of have some kind of plan which you can kind of assess. Maybe draw it in Miro, for example. You know. And also, I was active in asking my colleagues in HSL for help when I was getting stuck. So that kind of meant that I wasn't stuck for a long time in this project, and it was like good for the project, definitely. And here's some key references, and I would thank you very much for your attention.